All right. Let's say that you don't have an acute injury and you're trying to prevent things from coming back. Your main weapon there is a balance between strength and flexibility. Okay? And when I mean strength, you have to have two types of strength. Endurance to be able to do the movement in running, which is long term. So when you run, you normally run at least for 10 minutes or more. So you have to have endurance on those muscles. And the second, you have to have strength on the deep muscles to support the joints. Okay? And those I found were the most neglected part of the sport that we do with running, because running is a very low intensity exercise. So you can kind of wing it through until things start aching. And that's why you don't want to let it happen. So you've got to maintain some strength of the stabilizers, and that's why, you know, the coaches learn how to keep those muscles, keep those body parts in check, so you can maintain the stability of the main muscle groups or the main joints, will be from hips, knees, ankles, and then up to the chain on the lower back, shoulders, and neck. Okay? And it's not that everybody needs to become bodybuilders. That's not the point. The point is you've got to be able not to neglect those joints, not to neglect the stability muscles that needs to give you support. So let's talk about you know, the kinetic chain. What we call kinetic chain for the walking and running is basically you've got to be able to stabilize, especially when you try to load the limb. And when you walk, surprisingly enough, the loads on walking are greater than running for a lot of body parts. Okay, and particularly for the hips, okay? Because most of us, when you walk, you're gonna have to heel strike, okay? You can't walk with your toes the whole time, because you're gonna have to start walking a little faster, and that becomes running, okay? So when you heel strike, I'll move this way a little bit. When you heel strike, the first thing that happens is I'm gonna have to load, and I'm gonna have to load and sustain my leg, and my hamstring is the first one that adds up, which it shouldn't be. Okay, should be my my hips to stabilize that I load the foot. Okay, but my hamstring is a very important muscle, and it ends up to be one of the most injured muscles in running. When you take a step and this leg is going this way, and you lift your foot up about to heel strike, your body has to slow down this part of the leg so you don't snap it. Okay, so the hamstring contracts, and then when you hit the floor, the hamstring contracts the opposite way. So the hamstring is going this way and pulls back, okay? So strain on the hamstrings is very, very common. And the main reason for that are two. Or the hamstrings are too tight, or the hamstrings are weak. Most of the time it's a combination of both. Does that make sense? Okay? And then the second thing that I see a lot is that when the hamstring becomes a chronic problem, you end up trying to recover this leg a little sooner, and then you end up having a hip flexor issue. Now you have a hip flexor that hurts, a hamstring that hurts, and it becomes very difficult to run. Okay, and you're going to compensate, because what you're going to do is the hamstring is about to hit, the hip flexor is short, you pull, and you end up taking the pelvis rotating to reach. Okay, so you see from the back people doing this. They drop the hip out and they rotate. And you do that so many times and so fast that up the chain becomes a problem. The knee gets unstable, the ankle rotates out, the back jams in one side, and everything becomes a big problem, okay? So the hamstring injuries are very, very common. The second most common injury is what? Knee for most of us, okay? And the knees, again, the quadriceps stabilizes the knee, powers the knee, sorry. The quadriceps powers the knee, makes the knee move. The stabilizers of the knee are actually the hamstrings and the calf. These guys here prevents the knee from moving this way. At the same time, when you run, you have to load, and then the hips will maintain the alignment of your legs. If the hips are weak, you're going to drop. Or you're going to overload the other way. Okay? So those problems are not very apparent on the beginning of your run. But as soon as you start reaching 3, 4, 5 miles, they start coming. And then when you're going to do a half, on mile 8, 9, you're going to fatigue, and things are really going to break down.